Welcome back, Military Family Investing. Hey, I'm Josh. Let's jump right into it. All right, my four favorite index funds. As you can see, the picture, the cute little picture here, lays them all out. I'm going to explain which each of those are. Okay, so once you grab the book, which we got right there, you already have the answer to the question. What are my four favorite index funds? And I use these all over the place for a good reason. Okay, so index funds are a very easy way to invest. They can go in all your accounts, and basically they just track the stock market. Now, some of them get a little particular, which I'll explain. But if the stock market has a good day, your index fund will have a good day. No need to do anything more than that. All right, now I'll explain why I use them. Now, what are index funds? Index funds are a collection of stocks that track a particular index. And I'll go through my four indexes below. To make it clear, a large entity creates index companies. So these index funds are catered to these indexes, these main indexes. But I can create the Josh King index and then create an index fund based on that. Okay, obviously I don't have the money to do all that, but these are the major index funds. But anybody can create an index, and like I can call the purple company, and I could put some three companies that have purple colors, and that's their index. And then I can create a purple index that tracks that index. Okay, so basically it's a collection and you track it. Okay. And passively, passive management will just, whatever happens in that index will happen to your index fund. Okay. So why do I choose index funds? All right. So I'm an income investor. I invest for income. I have dividend growth as well. But for the most part, index funds are 90% growth and 10% dividends or less. All right. So that's kind of how it works. So the reason why you want to do index funds is to give you that growth long term. If you have all your uh, dividends coming out, which is great, but you're not getting any growth. So if you invest $50,000 and you're getting, I don't know, $5,000 a year in dividends, in 10 years you might only have $50,000 invested, and you took out the money if you took out the dividends. But if you did 40,000 and 10,000 of index funds, then potentially you'll have 60,000 in your account because index funds are growing. So I use them to counterbalance. I'm a dividend heavy investor, but I use index funds to counter that with growth. So, like you said right here, index funds grow at 8%, 9% a year. And then I'm investing in stocks that pay me 8% in a year, 8% in dividend yield. But you're not going to, usually for the most part, you're not going to get both. One of the best stocks is like 5 and 5 is AbbVie, AbbVie, which is a medical stock, and it has 5% growth roughly and 5% dividend yield, which is probably the best dividend growth stock out there at the time. All right, right now it's less yield because the price is high, but that's rare. For the most part, you either get growth or you get dividends. Now, so over 20 years, your VTI will have that much with growth of that, and MO will pay you that in dividends. So I counterbalance it. So you always want to have growth, just in case. The stock market has good years and bad years, but if you're constantly investing in the stock market, you can have a really bad year, but you keep investing, and then the next year it could double, triple, and then you're capturing that growth. Right? Dividends are held back by what the company pays you. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they don't as much as you want. But having your money purely in the stock market is a good idea as well. That's why I use these index funds. Now, here are my four top index funds. My number one favorite index fund is the Total Stock Market, VTI. Okay, it's a Vanguard fund. It takes all the stocks that trade. It's like 5,000 stocks. Now it's weighted to size, so it ends up being 5% Apple, 5% Amazon, whatever it is. It's weighted by market cap. It looks extremely similar to the S&P 500, which we'll get into. However, VTI is so simple. I throw my money in there every week. I invest in there every month. I invest in there. All my Roth IRA, I'm investing in VTI. My custodial accounts for my kids and cousins, or we call nephews and nieces, they're all mainly heavily doing VTI. Okay, so because I know later on I can convert those VTI, I can capture the stock market for 20, 30, 40 years. And then later on, I can convert those into income investing. Right. So instead of trying to get dividends now and pay taxes on it, I can convert it, especially if I'm doing it in a Roth. Okay. So that's VTI. That's one of them. The next one is the S&P 500. These are the top 500 companies in America. All right. And they're also weighted, market cap weighted. So it looks VTI and S&P 500 are very, very similar. Very similar. Most people do the S&P 500. I like to do VTI just in case there's an outlier company past the 500 that has a really good year. VTI will capture that. So if there's a company that just grows crazy and it just has really good odds, and if for some reason it's like company number 505 and it just jumps up, you'll capture that in VTI, not in the S&P 500. That would be rare, just in case. But I just like VTI because I know, there's not. You just know you're not missing anything. Okay, but S&P 500. So that one is SPY, SPY. Okay, so that's the ticker for SP 500. I will put VTI and SPY as my top index funds for the standard person. Okay, so it depends on how much you want to invest into those, depending on your age. But if the younger you are, the more you want to invest into those. You want to have your dividends, you want to do all that stuff, but you do want to invest in these long term because you're going to capture the whole stock market. If someone would have invested like $10,000 in, the stock market or SPY when I was born, 1981, and then 41 years of growth, it would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. I did the math. It was like your money would double 25 times over or something like that, just by capturing just the standard stock market. So that's what you want to do. Okay, now the Dow Jones, number 3, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This includes only 30 companies. And these are like heavy. I think there's a couple that don't pay dividends, but these are heavy, older companies, dividend paying companies. All right. So the dividend of the Dow Jones Industrial Average is the highest of the 4. It's roughly 2%, 2.2%. And this one, DIA is the name of it, ticker. It pays monthly. It goes up and down. It fluctuates. But it's nice to get a couple dividends. And what you can do is you get the dividends from this one. Say it's whatever, 3, 4, 5, $10. You can invest that at a higher yield. So you're still catching the growth, but then you're investing it in, say, 10% yielding stocks, right? So it's a good balance. So you're getting your dividends from DIA, from these dividend paying stocks like Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's, Johnson & Johnson. You're invested in these long term, but when it spits off dividends, you're reinvesting at a higher rate. Okay, just to spice things up a little bit, make sure. Or you can reinvest it. It is what it is. But yeah, DIA, number 4 is DIA. And the final one is the NASDAQ 100. Okay, QQQ. These are growth stocks. All right, most of these don't pay dividend. A few of them do. So you get like a little 0.5% dividend with the QQQ. But you're getting growth. You're getting, like, right now they're getting beat up. Okay, they're getting beat up. But they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back. The growth stocks are going to bounce back. And then instead of trying to pick the winner, like I'm invested in Costco, but instead of trying to pick the winner and worry about selling or worry about, hey, is this the top it's going to go? Put your money in QQQ and just let it ride. Okay, it's going to go up and down. What you'll find is QQQ and DIA, so the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones, counterbalance each other for the most part. Growth versus value. Okay, NASDAQ being growth, DIA being value. All right, sometimes people want those value stocks, sometimes they don't. Okay, so it has to do with treasury bonds and things like that. So if the treasury, if the yield on treasuries is low, people flock towards dividend paying stocks, right? So things like that. You got to actually jump into those bonds, the deeper meanings that kind of play off of that. If you want to dig deep, I like to just dollar cost average into these and not think about it too much. And if I notice a play that's going to happen, I just throw more money into which one I think is going to be, which one's ever down. So whichever one's down, like QQ was down, I threw some money in there because I know it might be 3 years, it might be next year, but it'll bounce back. Okay, so then you use them in your Roth IRA, right? That's a good place to put your index funds. Why? Because they're going to grow with the stock market tax free. And then, once you sell them inside the Roth IRA and it's time to liquidate, you can convert them to dividend paying stocks at 10%, 12% yields. And then when you withdraw those dividends, they're tax free. Okay, it'll be tax free their whole life, and then if you pass them to your kids, they're tax free. And I think you had to liquidate. They had to liquidate those in 10 years, but they're still liquidated tax free. Okay, so they potentially could just sit on it for 9 years, let it grow for 9 more years, and just liquidate the whole thing tax free. So it's a good deal, right? So I use index funds mainly because trying to pick a company now that pays dividends that's going to be around in 40 years, it's going to be very tough, very tough. So for that unknown, but the stock market's going to be around, it's going to be growing. So for that, so if I need the money now, if I need my dividends now, I pick companies that are good now, now the 10 years. But if anything past that, like when I'm investing for a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, I'm not going to pick up AGNIC because it might not be there in 40 years, right? I'm going to pick up a index fund. And then as that person ages and needs the money, we can convert it and use that to whatever it needs. Okay. So now you got to be careful. So here's my index funds as of that date. This article is written about 7 months ago. What you had to remember though is a lot of people do passive index investing, meaning that they just throw their money in index funds and it is what it is. However, when it's time if you don't learn how to convert that money into dividend paying stocks and you're just taking it out purely, you're at the whim of the market. All right. Obviously, you're going to have an emergency fund for 3 to 6 months, if not a year. But the market can go down, can go up. You do not want to be withdrawing that money directly. So if it was me, as I get older and I have a lot of index funds and I'm not passing them on, right? I'm using the income for myself. I'm investing in index funds personally in addition to my dividends. So my dividends I'm going to live off of. My index funds will be there as a tool that I can give to my kids, right, and my grandkids. I don't plan on ever tapping into my index funds. However, if I don't want to have $1 million in index funds and then have to pull out 80,000 or 40,000, whatever the case may be, and then have to sell those index funds directly. What I would want to do is sell them when the market's high and buy high yielding products at that time and then live off those dividends. Okay, so I'm adding an extra step. I'm not just going to my index funds and liquidating them and using the money. I'm converting them into dividend paying stocks that are excellent at that time. Not dividend growth particularly, but more like closed-end funds, preferred shares, things like that. And then I'm living off that income. All right, so then that way I don't have to go back and keep selling shares and selling shares. It's spitting it off for me because as you sell shares, your account's going to go down and down and down because you have less shares. All right. You're praying that when you sell a share that the market goes up to recoup that, but that might not be the case. All right. So be careful when you're investing for index funds. You're delaying your knowledge. You have to have this knowledge on how to actually produce income. Index funds don't produce very much income, 1%, 2%. You could try to live off the index funds dividends, but you're gonna need a lot of money. You're gonna need like $10 million for to survive. So don't invest in index funds just thinking, hey, I'm gonna invest in my index funds, I'm gonna let them sit, and then as I get older, I'm gonna liquidate them. All right, that's a recipe for disaster long term. You're gonna live in fear of the stock market. The last thing you want to do is depend on the stock market. I'm letting you know because it's very up and down. It's very emotional. Okay, and then your livelihood's gonna be wrapped up in that. You want to create that buffer, right, with people that pay dividends. Anyway, so those are my 4 favorite. Grab the book. All right, it's a very simple article because it's a very simple thing. You put your money in index funds so it grows. All right, it'll go up and down, but for the most part, it's just gonna slowly go up, tick up, tick up, tick up. It is what it is. Those are my 4 top ones. I have them all over the place. I mainly invest in VTI, the purple guy here. Probably 80% of my dividends, or I'm sorry, index funds are in VTI. And then D is my second favorite. And then I definitely have some in QQQ and SPY, right? And I have some in my M1 Finance that I can just throw in $400 and it divides them across those. I also have a couple other ones. Maybe I'll get into next time. But that's it for now, right? Grab the book. Looks good. Free download. It'll make your day. All right. Have a good one.